Good Wednesday evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this WHAS 11 Weather Impact live stream. Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell here with Meteorologist John Gordon this evening. We're talking about our severe weather threat through Kentuckiana. We've already been tracking some severe thunderstorm warnings in southern Indiana, and now we're starting to see those storms bubble up in Kentucky. So we're going to be with you until this severe weather threat is over. Thankfully, no tornado warnings for our viewing area just yet.
We're very thankful.
And of course, that's something that we'll be watching, but that threat really more so off to our north, it looked like. I do want to pull up this full screen here of our graphic. We do have a number that you can text for weather photos and videos, but also that you can text with any kind of questions you may have. So that's 502-582-7290. I have a window popped up on one of my computers here. If you have any specific questions, we can get to those throughout this live stream. This is going to be a kind of more casual thing if you haven't watched one of these live streams before. And we're just going to chat with you and go through radar over the next few hours. But first, I'm going to kind of give the spiel of the setup for today before we do that radar analysis. Today, weather impact alert. We've been tracking this, of course, throughout the week for the evening and early overnight hours. As we got closer to today's events, the weather model is starting to speed things up a little bit, bringing that timing earlier. And we saw that in southern Indiana after about the 4 o'clock hour, taking us through 5 and 6, and now we're at 7 p.m. We're starting to see those storms fire up in Kentucky. Strong winds, really our greatest threat, heavy rainfall as well. A non-zero isolated tornado threat, primarily off to the north. And as we always say, make sure you have multiple ways to receive alerts. A great tool to have, of course, the WHAS 11 app. If you're not watching this on your phone right now, you can take a picture of that QR code. It will take you to where you can download our app for free in your app store. It provides all the latest weather information. You can see the articles that we write, any kind of previous videos from newscasts, and of course live streams like this one. And the best part is it is, of course, free. So here's a look at today's severe weather outlook. The highest risk on today's outlook was a level 3 out of 5, which much of Kentuckiana is included in, but it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of enhanced risk. Really the greatest tornado threat off to the north, but we have been included for that damaging wind threat especially. And if you've been keeping an eye on this update throughout the day, really throughout the last 24 hours or so, you'll notice how that orange has kind of creeped a little bit farther to the south and east. On top of that, excessive rainfall outlook. This is a different kind of legend here, level 2 out of 4. That's what you're seeing in the yellow for much of Kentuckiana. Obviously, we've had some flash flooding concerns over the last couple of days with those cells over E-Town and then Washington County, Kentucky as well, dumping a lot of rainfall in a short period of time. We have a ton of moisture in the atmosphere, something called precipitable water. And you can even feel that at the surface with our dew points that have been in the low to mid 70s, that tropical air in place. You're seeing a lot of those deep blues and greens on this map. So a ton of moisture in the atmosphere. On top of that, temperatures today really increased into the upper 80s out ahead of the front that's going to move through later tonight and tomorrow. So we have that heat, we have that humidity, we still have that storm fuel, the cape, the instability to tap into, and this will be around until that sun does set later on this evening. But here's a big picture view of the satellite and radar, that storm system really spinning up tornadoes in Illinois we were talking about earlier today, tracking all across the entire state of Indiana with big severe thunderstorm warnings, and you're seeing that continuing eastward into Ohio. At this point, the tornado watch, you can see kind of a sliver here. Some of our Indiana counties were allowed to be chipped away once those storms already rolled through with the severe warnings. And we're still watching, once again, that severe weather threat, but really looking at a wind threat for us and heavy rainfall as well. So just a reminder, that difference between a watch and a warning, I know we mentioned this a lot, but it's always important to distinguish the two. A watch means we have the right ingredients for severe weather to occur. It's usually a bigger geographic area, parts of a state, and it's issued for hours on end. Warnings are very, very specific. That's when you see the polygons. That's when your phone might go off for a tornado warning. That means a tornado has either been spotted by a storm spotter or there's been really tight rotation on radar. If it's a severe thunderstorm warning, that means it does look like we have those winds in excess of 58 miles per hour or quarter-sized hail or larger. Now, your max HD radar, it does look like the severe storms that we had in southern Indiana. These were packing a punch with strong winds, 60 to 70 miles per hour. There were some hail cores with some of those storms as well. A lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rainfall. rainfall. That is now moving out of our viewing area. You can see heading up to the Cincinnati metro. And what we were waiting for during the earlier newscast was for this line to kind of fill in here in Kentucky. And it does look like those storms are beginning to bubble up. They were having some trouble earlier this evening, but they are firing up and they are kind of congealing a bit at this point. A lot of lightning with those. And we do have one severe thunderstorm warning at this time. This does include Shepherdsville here. This is until 7:15. So this is just on the south side of the metro there. Are they going 60? Just kind of, you're running,
60s.
yeah, 60-mile-per-hour wind gust with that storm. Lots of heavy rainfall as well and lightning.
Yeah, let's look at that one right now. So let's look at that warning. If you're in Valley Station over to 65, you see in the middle of that cell, it's almost like it's pushing a little bit to the south and east, that little area right there.
Yeah.
So if you were in Hillview on 65, you're going to get a very strong wind gust along the 65's Gene Snyder corridor. Very heavy rain. Anyone in South Louisville on your commute home on the Snyder, 65, not going to be good with heavy rain and wind. Doesn't look like hail or tornado. Same thing there in the southeast part of Louisville, over there near the Bullitt-Taylor County line or Spencer County line. Once again, that's extremely heavy rain there, probably 40, 50-mile-an-hour winds with that. Those are the two main shows. So let's do a full radar view here.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
So up to the north, we've got this big line that Mallory just mentioned, all across the Buckeye State and Ohio, Cincinnati. If you have any friend up there, you're going to get 50 to 70-mile-an-hour winds, extremely heavy rain, and a lot of lightning. If you had your softball match or baseball, golf thing this evening, it's going to be canceled anywhere in the Cincinnati metro. That's the area that had a good tornado potential.
Yes.
As we go further to the south, can you mind going to mine real quick?
Yeah. We're going to switch computers over to John's. Give me just a moment.
Okay.
There we go.
Just show you the setup. All right. So first off, we got a lot of water vapor. That's the green area all and around. You see that red area in the middle. That's where the most moisture is being transported along and ahead of that pretrunal trough. In that whole area, you see that area that's really maxed in southern Indiana. So let's look at that a little bit more. SPC, the Storm Prediction Center, has outlooked the area basically along and east of I-65 for a possible watch. They don't really know what to do with this watch. I told Mallory before we went on, it'll be between 40 and 60% probability at 60%. They're going to see how this line in the southern part of Kentucky, south of the metro, 64 southbound, what they're going to do with that. And why is that? Well, the main reason they're doing that is because of this. So let's look at we'll go to wind shear. There we go, right here. This is the way we look at the wind shear with height, how much turning and energy. It is maxed in Indiana, basically 64 north. So in Kentucky, the threat is very minimal. You probably will see some storms that rotate, but I doubt very seriously there's a tornado going to happen south of I-64. If you have friends in Ohio, along the eastern part of Indiana, there's much better wind shear and a much better potential, but that's still even becoming more linear. I think this whole event earlier in the day, as Mallory has mentioned, was a tornado threat in Illinois, western part of Indiana. This is now more of a linear. If you look at the whole line, it's all congealed more in a northeast, southwest fashions. You're going to get very heavy rain and heavy wind. So let's look at the satellite. Your low is wound up, deep convection all across the Great Lakes. If you're flying into O'Hare, Detroit, Cincinnati tonight, not going to be pretty. The line goes back to the southwest, but they're not as strong. There's just some cells here and there. And we go to the radar, the big picture radar. By the way, I love GR Analyst radar, and this is the GR system in here. So let's take a look. Start from southwest of Cincinnati. As you go back to the southwest, we have 1 cell, 2 cell, 3 there. There's a 4th here. It's more scattered. And it all goes way to the Tennessee state line. There's nothing majorly organized except for that one that Mallory led off with, which does have, let's see if it's got any more wind in there. No, it doesn't. Okay, so I don't think that's really I think that's just a wind heavy rainer. Moving off. So this, if you want to do a track on that one?
Sure.
We'll flip over to you, take a look at that one.
All right, we're going to switch back over to my radar. Here we go.
I would think southern Louisville and...
Let's see. What's its general
northern
motion?
bullet.
East.
I would think a little bit north of east. Maybe, maybe 210 at 40. Something like that.
Yes. All right, let's put a little track on this guy.
Very heavy rain in South Louisville. Extremely. Gene Snyder, not pretty. And the Weather Service, I would have put a warning out that for as well. They're getting to a point they got to do something. Based on the way it looks, I would not, they'll do at least a special weather statement going over there towards eastern part of the metro and maybe into Spencer County.
So here's kind of the track on this. If it continues east, slightly northeast, around 40 miles per hour. Hillview, obviously, it's pretty much on top of you at this point in terms of the gusty winds and the heavy rainfall. Fern Creek, 726. We also have Seatonville at 729. Fisherville at 736, Simpsonville at 745. So heavy rainfall, as John mentioned, if you're driving home from work, torrential downpours there, frequent lightning as well, and some strong winds that are continuing to track on the south side of the Louisville Metro right now.
Yeah, there's a young man at the Weather Service right now doing a national hydroplaning project tonight, and it reminds me that right now this is what, if you're going too fast and you don't have good tires and you're in this kind of environment, you're going to have a problem. Please slow down. If you're in southern Louisville, northern Bullitt, that cell that's over there near the Shelby line, those kind of, you run into those things and you're going to have problems because they're going to have ponding of water because there's so much moisture in the atmosphere.
Right, and that's to emphasize too that nothing, it doesn't have to be a severe storm to make an impact. Obviously, I mean, heavy downpours can make a huge impact, as we mentioned, if you're on the road. So take these storms seriously, obviously, drive with caution, and just keep an eye on the radar. If thunder roars, head indoors, turn around, don't drown. We have a lot of sayings around here, and they are important, so be safe.
Also, so let's follow that theme. Look at, on your radar, look, I-71. If you're on I-71 right now and you're leaving Louisville, you're going to have nothing but trouble in Oldham County, Henry County, Carroll County, and then the Cincinnati Metro is really going to be pounding with rain. You're definitely going to lose some speed. If you can wait just a little bit of time, you'll have a much safer drive up to Cincinnati. Also, you got on the parkways to the southwest of E-Town, there's storms all along the parkway. And before you know it, down south, all those storms west of Bowling Green will be on the 65, all the way from Hart County down to the state line. Very heavy rainfall. And if you do notice, there are a few little, what I call giblets, a few little showers that are west of Bloomington, Vincennes, over into the Wabash, Princeton. Those aren't going to be severe. They will they'll produce some more rain. You can see them develop there just east of Vincennes, north of Jasper on I-64. The main show, why we have the tornado watch, I believe the tornado watch is being trimmed. I believe it will be gone before even 9 o'clock. They're going to probably let it go and let it die. I think the threat, the tornado threat is waning rapidly.
Yes.
There were some earlier when I came in that were concerning.
There were a few that were trying to rotate,
They certainly
up
were.
north, and they had the better environment, the better ingredients to do so. But as you mentioned, as we continue onward throughout the evening, if anything, we lose the daytime heating and that instability there. And now we're just tracking the really wind potential, heavy rainfall potential as well. I believe we do have the feed of our storm chaser, John Humphreys, who's out and about.
Hey, John.
Trying to figure out where exactly he is, but we do see some dark clouds.
I-65, is that where you are, John?
It looks like it. We're trying to get a hold of him, but just know that we do have his feed, so we can pull that up from time to time. As we mentioned, heavy downpours will be a threat tonight. A lot of juice, a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, and some strong winds as well. In addition to that, a lot of lightning as well.
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned that. Zoom in if you would on Metro. So if you have a baseball tournament this evening, softball, golf, frisbee golf, anything you are planning and you're in the Metro, look at all that lightning.
Yeah.
Fairdale, Okolona, Fern Creek, Hillview. Watch this. She does this magic.
Oh, I just make it bigger.
Look at that. I mean, whatever your event is, you should cancel.
Yeah.
At least wait an hour because these storms have prolific lightning. Sometimes we don't talk about lightning as much as we should. 50,000 degrees, 100 million volts, 30,000 amps. And there is no heat lightning. But anyway, all of them are very problematic. So look at that, 215 strikes in that one area she defined. So we got Waterfront Wednesday tonight, right? I hope they're okay.
I think that's next week.
It was next week.
It's
Good.
the last
I'm very
week of the
thankful
month,
you're
I
okay.
think. Yeah.
All right, I was just thinking of some of the events on Wednesday. Those are extremely heavy rainers. I really think that's the threat. Let's see what the Louisville's going to do, if they said what they're going to do with that warning.
They said they were going to let a special weather statement.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
40 to 50 mile per hour gusts, not hearing any reports of damage from the ongoing warning.
I think that's a really good call. And that's pivoting a little bit, so it's going to be into the 64 Snyder corridor. Before you know it, there's the Bardstown Road, very heavy rain. I think this is actually going to just be a lot of heavy rain and 40, 50 mile an hour winds the more I keep looking at this. Once again, if you have anyone you know in Cincinnati, they're getting hit really hard. It'd be interesting to see what the wind gust is at the Covington Airport.
Right, so here's kind of that big picture view here. I mean, just look at this giant swath where you're seeing those yellow or orange colors. Obviously, those are severe thunderstorm warnings. The reds, there's been a few embedded. Looks like there's one more so in northern Ohio.
Let's see if we can look. Where's that one? Lima?
Lima.
Let me look at that one.
That's your embedded tornado warning. But I mean, this stretches all the way up into Michigan and all the way down to Cincinnati. So it's the entire state. And we were seeing that earlier through the entire state of Indiana. These storms started getting going in Illinois, became a bit more linear, continued to track eastward, big swaths of severe thunderstorm warnings with a few embedded tornado warnings as well. But down here in Kentuckiana, we don't have any active severe thunderstorm warnings since they did allow that storm downstream to be taken care of with a special weather statement, which means it's still impactful. We're still seeing, obviously, wind gusts 40, maybe 50 miles per hour and heavy rainfall, but it's not meeting that severe thunderstorm criteria. So just some torrential downpours over Fern Creek right now, Okolona, Hillview, Fairdale, moving into J-Town, around Fisherville, about to head into Simpsonville as well. We did get a question into our chat here.
Bring it on.
Hello, Paige. She said, what are we expecting this evening in E-Town? So at this point, obviously, our storms are beginning to fire up in Kentucky. At first, we were seeing just all of the activity in southern Indiana. That was during the 4, 5, and 6 o'clock newscast, and that's where our greatest tornado threat was. So at this point, maybe some strong winds, some heavy downpours, some lightning. But that seems to be what we're looking at this point. And
it won't be raining all evening, Paige. You probably got your window. Let's see, E-Town. You're going to get the one that's by Litchfield. So the one in Litchfield will get to you in about, 40 minutes?
It's always hard for me to, guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 45 minutes. Probably in 40 to 45 minutes, Paige, that stuff you see down there by Litchfield will be on E-Town. And maybe that one that's in southern Breckenridge. You got about 45 minutes apiece. And then you'll probably have 30 minutes of heavy rain, and then it's all over. Hasta la vista.
Yep.
So I'm going to that storm up in Ohio to take a look at that.
He's talking about this storm right here. So the one that has a tornado warning.
Yeah, I was just curious what that's all about. Ohio, John.
While you're doing that, I'm going to walk us through the Futurecast. We're going to see what the latest HRRR shows in terms of our storm motion for the rest of the evening. So now that those storms are starting to fill in on the Kentucky side, this will all gradually work its way eastward through tonight. Obviously, this model always looks a little menacing on here, but
that's a bit too menacing.
It goes a little overboard. But the general motion is for it to move east and southeastward, and then probably these giblets that you're seeing pop up on the backside.
Yeah, that's on the backside of the real front, and then you start to see stuff just so that won't be severe. There'll be heavy rain again.
Right.
Heavy rain will be the problem really through tomorrow afternoon, right?
So, I mean, would you say severe now through about sunset?
Yes.
And then after that point, some heavy rainfall makers.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, our window for severe is coming, is probably next couple hours. That's it.
It's really with the tornado watch. I would say. I mean, even though our tornado threat is
Yeah, they're clearing
diminishing.
counties. Yeah, before you know it, Harrison, you'll be out. Breckenridge will be out. And then SPC is going to have to we're coming up on 0Z, and then goes to 01Z, which is 9 o'clock. So they're going to, believe me, they'll be talking to the Louisville office and the Jackson, Kentucky office about what to do with the next watch. But if they don't see any warnings or the tops of the clouds don't extremely get cold, I would think it's a 50-50 shot if they do anything. I personally, my guess is they won't let it go.
I'm going to loop back to this number here.
Thanks for the question, Paige.
Yeah, that was from Paige. Andre also said hello.
Hi, Andre.
Good to hear from you. And just a reminder, this is our number that you can text. You can text us weather photos and videos via this number, and you can also text us any questions you may have. Area code's 502-582-7290, and we'll get to it throughout this stream. But so far, so good. No active severe thunderstorm warnings, it looks like, at this time for our area. We can go back to the big picture view of the satellite and radar here. So earlier this evening, what I'm actually going to do here is let's put on the storm reports to kind of show what happened. This is very noisy.
Yeah, let's see what they got in southern Indiana. What did they put in?
Okay, so we had these were the trees that you were mentioning in Du Bois
What'd you get in
County.
Paoli? What'd you get there? What'd you get there?
Oh,
power poles.
Power poles in Jasper.
And what's that one?
That would be a hail report, inch hail.
Oh, they did get 1 inch hail. Okay. Yeah.
Let's see if there were any others.
Oh, what do we got there?
This was from earlier in Tom Sawyer Park.
What is it? Tree fell blocking.
In Anchorage.
Huh.
That was before we even had
There
storms.
there was one little cell. I don't know when that came. Yeah.
Dime-size hail.
That was the one we were worried about
in Hanover.
Yeah.
And then, let's see what this one is. Half-inch.
Yeah, penny.
In northern Madison.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But you'll see, you can see where the tornadoes were, where the tornado reports.
That's where that low went through.
Yes.
So when it gets hot and you have this upper level low and it gets really cold up top, it's really ripe conditions to get a tornado near the center of the low.
But you're seeing where all these reports are coming in, especially throughout the state of Indiana today and Illinois.
Yep. Yeah, when you text or call that number, I'd love it. If you're from Okolona, Fern Creek, Hailwood, what did you get when the storm came through? What did you get across southern Louisville? That's the storm of most interest. And the Weather Service did let that warning go. It's gone. They put a special weather statement up for winds 40, 50 miles an hour, Mallory mentioned, and very heavy rain. So I really think this is transitioning to the typical frog strangler, those big heavy rainers that come through, very quick heavy rain. And I just worry about people driving home right now who are tired, had enough of their job, ready to get home, and they want to get home. And hydroplaning is not a good thing. Losing control of your car at a high rate of speed. Please slow down. People along the Snyder, along 64, along 71, the Parkway, Western Kentucky Parkway.
Heavy rain.
Very heavy rain. And slow down so you can go home safely and see your loved one.
Does look like on the far northeastern edge, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for this cell around Carrollton.
Yep.
So this, once again, when we were talking about along 71, a mess from here to Cincinnati. I mean, that is...
You're going to go at 30 miles an hour.
You need to wait that out.
Yeah, do you want to go 30 miles an hour and be aggravated, or you want to wait 30 minutes and not be aggravated?
So this warning is until 7:30, so for the next few minutes here...
Yeah, would they go 60?
60 and quarter-size hail.
Really looks like wind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right along 71.
Right.
Ugh.
Yep. Right there.
Yeah, US 42 is up there too. That ain't going to be good either. Slow down, turn around, don't drown, and don't hydroplane. Just a really classic setup. It's a soupy air mass But we get that. I mean, the dew points were what would you have up there, 73?
I think the highest I saw today was 70, 73, 74. Gross.
Yuck.
It was like, you know, when you walk outside and you're like, you can just feel it. I mean, granted, the last couple of days have felt like that.
Yes.
Dew points in the 70s, not my friend.
And the reason we had all this tornado watch is because there's wind energy with that soupy air mass that Mallory's talking about. When you get wind energy combined with all that fuel, that moisture and instability, oh, there you go. There's your ingredients.
Yep. So obviously you need ingredients for severe weather, like you need ingredients for a cake, and they all come together. You know, sometimes one doesn't come together and you don't end up with a severe weather event, or you don't end up with a tornado event, you end up with a wind event, and things of that nature. So shear, instability, moisture, and then some kind of lifting mechanism. And that's what we're seeing today.
We will not scare you here on HAS. We're giving you just the facts. We're telling you what it is. We'll always tell you what we think. We'll tell you the good, the bad, the ugly. I really think this watch will end up being canceled or expired at 9 o'clock tonight. And this will be a heavy rain thing, but there's just a couple cells, the one in Carroll County right now. We're looking at this one in Carroll County. It's got a wind signature, and that's why the Wilmington office went with this. And I even think more than that is a flash flood on a major interstate.
Yeah.
That's very hilly in Carroll County. There's two major hills on 71, and all that rain coming down. That is not going to be pretty. So if you're on US 42, if you're on 71, you've got strong winds, very heavy rain, and a lot of lightning. Not a pretty situation. Please slow down.
Yes. Once again, we're still tracking some heavy rainfall makers on the east side, southeast side of Louisville. Fern Creek, this is now moving into Fisherville. Simpsonville has some heavy downpours, lightning as well. No warnings on these. But anytime you're seeing those oranges and reds, you know, we got a lot of rain coming down as well. Shepherdsville, Fort Knox, all the way down here. In fact, if I keep going down, you can see west of Bowling Green as well, Morgantown, seeing some heavy rainfall. So this is where that radar has been filling in here. You can see the line. So if I put this over the last, let's do a loop over the last couple of hours here.
Look how it's congealing.
So it was all the stuff, I'm going to slow this down. It was all the activity that we started tracking in the 4 o'clock newscast in southern Indiana. Look at all that lightning right over 65, around 5:30, 6 o'clock. And that continued east-northeast into Cincinnati. And as that did so, you'll see how things are filling in on the Kentucky side, but are tamer. So we're not seeing nearly as many severe thunderstorm warnings, not really looking at a tornado threat. Some gusty winds, heavy rain, lightning.
Yeah, I think the tornado threat is almost near zero. I really think this is going to be gone before you know it. I think this is a very heavy rain and some isolated wind stuff. I really do. I think if you know anyone in western Ohio and the Buckeye State, Cincinnati, up towards what? Up towards Toledo. I think anywhere, and I see they issued that one tornado warning. I know why. It's right on the squall line. It's got a little what we call a nub. So if you have anyone near Findlay, Ohio, I would not be surprised there will be a tornado along that line. But that's nowhere near us.
Right.
There, she just zoomed in. Yep. There you go. There's two nubs, actually. There's another one they could have issued for, too. Those are really difficult as a radar person to operate. That's how we're trained, to try to pick the greatest chance of kind of a descent on the leading edge where it forms right in there very quickly. It causes spin up. But we have none of those conditions. That's an Ohio event up there towards, I guess it goes up into Detroit. Yeah, if you're in the lower part of Michigan, Ohio, you're under a tornado threat. You really are. I think you're down here, very minimal. Very minimal. And I think this watch will be gone before you know it. Yes. So we have the Carroll County. Is the Carroll County one? What time did that go to?
That one went till 7:30, I believe.
Which is like 1 minute. Okay,
right,
I was going to say. I think that
7:30.
One. Yeah, that one. Let me go to the Wilmington radar. Take a quick look. One nice thing is we have these FAA radars, so we can see things that really help us out. There is a lot of lightning with that one storm. Let's see. Well, maybe I can't get that one.
While you're doing that, I'm going to talk about just long range stuff for a minute while I have everybody here, because
sounds good.
Once we move out of this stormy pattern that we've had, we've been stuck in this pattern of the highs in the 80s, the really high humidity, the daily scattered showers and storms, capping with today's severe weather threat. Our pattern changes. So I just saw my old chief in Tucson. She posted that the forecast for tomorrow in southern Arizona is 114 degrees. You can see the purples or even the white color on this map here. That ridge will be headed our direction. So it is our turn for some heat. I know a lot of people have been wanting a break in the rain. We just want a sunny weekend. We're going to get that this weekend. Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for.
We're getting we're trading one thing for another. So we're going to have this ridge of high pressure. There's going to be a heat dome that basically builds over us into next week. And what that means for us is temperatures will be soaring into the 90s. And unfortunately, it's not going to be a dry heat like in southern Arizona. There's going to be humidity that returns. So Friday, pretty nice summer day. Temperatures in the upper 80s. We start in the upper 60s in the morning. Our humidity drops for about a day or so. Saturday, okay, not too bad. Then by Sunday, that humidity really starts to increase again. Highs soar into the mid 90s. It's going to be feeling like probably the upper 90s, maybe even close to 100, depending on how high that dew point is. That's going to continue into next week. And we get a little bit more moisture feeding in here next week with the high heat. We can see a couple pop-ups, but no big changes to really cool you down there.
Summer pattern.
Summer pattern. So summer solstice is a Friday evening, Friday night. And
that's right.
Our first weekend of summer officially is going to be a hot one.
Yeah.
And this is the heat index. This is just the model data from the European model. But this has your heat index in the triple digits starting on Sunday. So please be careful. Make sure you do stay hydrated. We're going from one extreme to another in terms of the heavy rainfall, switching to the high heat as we head into the end of the week.
I was just looking at a traffic map in Cincinnati. It is redder than the University of Alabama football team. Okay? It is not pretty.
I wonder if I can actually bring that up.
Can you bring that up there? It's not
we
pretty.
We do have a traffic map.
It's not good. So if you're in Cincinnati, extremely heavy rain. Covington, if you're trying to get to the airport, you may need 2 umbrellas. Very, very ugly. All the way in the Cincinnati metro. And down to 71, if you're trying to get up to Carroll County.
Can't get up there, never mind.
No, okay. Well,
yeah, our traffic data doesn't go that far, but
it's not pretty. So anyway, the good news is if you're in the metro and you got any evening plans, we're almost done. We're almost done out of the Louisville metro. There's a few in the east side. They'll be out of here before you know it, and you can go it's only 7:30. You can go play some Frisbee golf or whatever you want to do outside. It's almost out of there. Eastern part, heading towards Shelbyville. Shelbyville, it's coming. You got about another 45 minutes of rain and showers. Bullitt County, still down in there. There's that stuff coming out of Radcliffe over to Fort Knox. That's going to be in the whole Bullitt County area. Muldrow, Radcliffe, E-Town, we had that question. You can see that stuff. You might, depending where you are in E-Town, there may be one that goes just a hair north and one just a hair south. We'll see. It'll be close. You got enough rain the other day for the last a lifetime.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's why
looks like right now the one that's getting the most rain is Bullitt County. Bullitt County. I would not be surprised there's ponding of water around Shepherdsville. If you're in Shepherdsville along 65 towards Bardstown Junction and Lebanon Junction, I think you're going to have some flooding problems in low spots. I mean, there's several cells coming at you from the south, southwest. You see that? Can you show how much rainfall has fallen in there?
You can do an estimated.
What do you got on there?
Let's see. Oh, well, that doesn't really help me.
Well,
let's look at rainfall rates.
Try that. I bet you it shows up. Now, hello. Hocus pocus.
Sometimes technology is good and sometimes it's not.
Yeah,
that takes you into the loop.
There's some really heavy rainers moving in there.
Yeah, this is a 5-minute rainfall.
Bullitt County, some very, very heavy rain moving in. Also, if you just look at the pattern, Grayson County, you've just had one really good shower go through from Litchfield down to Eminetta, and now you've got more coming out of Butler County from Morgantown. You're going to get a bunch of heavy rain as well. Carroll County, you've been hit 3 times now. This is the last one moving through. So there's a lot of heavy rain moving through some parts of the area. And you start to see new development. By the way, we said the severe weather is over for Jasper. Well, it is. But you still have some more showers and rumbles of thunder going to be moving in from Vincennes and Jasper and Princeton. So there'll be more storms. There they are. Developing right now. And you actually go further west. I just saw one by St. Louis.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, so atmosphere is really unstable. There's a lot of fuel, and there's enough lift in the atmosphere to produce more showers and storms. So it's, even though we're saying the severe weather's over, there's still going to be scattered stuff overnight.
Oh, yeah. And I'll bring back up the excessive rainfall outlook.
Oh, yeah. It's probably bleak.
So, yeah, we're included in that slight risk, pretty much all of Kentuckiana here. Way to look at that is, yeah, level 2 out of 4, I agree. So that was upgraded because as yesterday, it was marginal. Today, we're in that slight heavy rainfall producers. We've seen that just kind of on a smaller scale with some of those isolated flash flooding events the last couple of nights, Washington County, Elizabethtown, where you got a couple inches of rainfall in a short period of time. And as we mentioned, the atmosphere just has a lot of moisture.
Sure.
A lot of moisture. So
yeah,
when it rains, it pours.
I think the main threat after 9 o'clock tonight is flash flooding and ponding of water. I really do. Plus some overnight lightning, which is annoying when you're sleeping. But yeah, I think that's the main show. They did issue a severe down south. Is that Todd? Yeah, that's Todd County, Todd or Christian. Up against Russell County. So there's one severe they put down there. You're going to have a few warnings here and there. Nothing significantly organized. And they got some, well, they got hail on that.
So
thing.
This is the storm that he was
way
talking about, right?
down south.
West of Russellville?
West of Russellville, that's it. It's got kind of a little bit of a northwest, southeast tint. You can see the kind of how it pushed in there. Looks like a little bit of a bowing segment. So there it is. Look at that little red back. There's a bunch of wind in the eastern part of Christian, Todd County. That would be heading into Logan County. So there may be a few of those here and there. But I was just looking at the pattern for heavy rain like Bullitt County. All those little showers. 65, you're going to just slow down. Just slow down, folks. So for the heavy rain. Once again, southern Indiana. Right now, there's nothing. There's a couple new cells. Bedford, you're going to have that new shower storms moving into the Bedford area in about 30 minutes. So if you wanted to resume your softball, baseball game, you're probably going to hear some thunder very soon. Unfortunately, it's heading right for you in Bedford if you have plans this evening. Further to the southwest, Bowling Green, it's coming into you. Elizabethtown, you're going to have you may get split from the south and the north, but Litchfield, you did not escape. It's heading. You got one, you got another one coming in. You can see there's just a bunch of showers. So Shelbyville right now has got prone to the heavier showers right now. Shelby County, there it is, right there.
Oh, yeah.
So I would think that's a pretty good rain-a-thon there in Shelby County. Watch out there. There's 2 exits there on the interstate, 32 and 35. That's a lot of heavy rain there. So please slow down. And what's interesting, you see some of these renegade storms that are rotating a little bit. They move to the northeast, and everything else is moving east-northeast. So that creates a potential where you get heavy rain twice from the same areas.
Yeah. So here's that big picture view. I'm going to start with just kind of the DMA view or our viewing area view. You can see this line of storms that's filled in throughout the state of Kentucky here, but our severe weather threat really so far today has been more so in southern Indiana, and we were seeing that during the early evening newscast, 4, 5, 6 o'clock. That's when we had some severe thunderstorm warnings, some storms that look like they might want to rotate, but then thankfully weakened a bit. But some warnings for 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts, up to golf ball size hail at times. Obviously heavy rainfall, frequent lightning, that has been a threat with all of these storms. But you can see the direction that those went in. So they have continued to track east and northeastward. I'm going to slow this down. This is how things looked earlier this evening. Prolific lightning. Crossing 65 and then continuing into the Cincinnati metro. And kind of the big picture view of it is it crossed the entire state of Indiana here, cut through Indianapolis and continued east into Ohio. And now there's warnings from state line to state line there, from Michigan down to the Kentucky state line across Ohio. So,
and that thing really stood out. If you know anyone in central part of Ohio, they've increased the tornado warning substantially. There's really good rotation on that line, and they've made a big warning. We don't have that threat here. We are not under the conditions that Ohio is in. You see, what is this really a threat? No, this is a threat with very heavy rain and
wind gusts, maybe.
Wind gusts and a lot of lightning.
Yeah, so these are going to be some noisy storms for sure. Still dangerous if you're on the interstates.
Right.
Just be smart. Going home the other night, nothing severe, some rain, and there were 2 cars that slid off 71. So I had to go an alternate route. But yeah, so I mean, just be smart, especially when the sun does set and if we're still getting those heavy downpours. If we have any flooding concerns, turn around, don't drown. You'll hear us say that a lot, but that can save your life. So
it sure does. You know, a year ago we had a young lady, the Hardin County band teacher, left school, was driving on the Western Kentucky Parkway, just in the only rain shower of the day, and was going too fast, and likely hydroplaned and was killed. So we're working on a national hydroplaning project to hopefully have a national campaign to save some lives. You think it can't happen to you, but I'll tell you, it does not take much to lose control of your car. And the one thing about this event, I mean, Cincinnati is just getting pounded with heavy rain. It's almost through the metro, but I'm sure that it's just a mess up there. 71 is still ugly, all the way east of Oldham County, on the tail end of Henry County, up through Carroll and all those northern Kentucky counties. Very heavy rain. For us, Bullitt County, you're getting stuff move in from 2 different directions. So I really expect there's probably some minor flood. I would consider yourself under a flood advisory if you're in Bullitt County, quite honestly. The other one that really stands out is on the Grayson County.
yes.
And oh my God, Edmondson. I couldn't remember. Edmondson. Getting old sometimes is hard. Anyway.
Hey, we got a lot of counties.
Southern Grayson County. That thing is that's a lot of rain. That one's got tremendous rainfall rates. So anyone south of Litchfield towards Mammoth Cave, and they got more rain going to move in. I wouldn't be surprised you get a flash flood warning eventually down there in southern Grayson County. So beware of that. Much of the area is getting absolutely nothing. So if you're in our viewing area in Adair, Greene, Taylor, Marion, Washington, probably wondering, what is the big deal?
Right.
We have nothing. But there is storms to your west, although I don't think they're going to be severe.
Right.
So.
And even in parts of the metro.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in New Albany, you're like,
what's the big deal? We've been playing softball all evening.
I do want to say the National Weather Service just put in the chat that they are going to cancel most of the tornado watch. At the same time, they issue the new severe watch to the east.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that tornado threat really wasn't too great for us to begin with.
And I heard what happened on the conference call today with the Storm Prediction Center. So they already had a tornado watch up. Okay, it already covered much of Paducah's area. You've got the stuff in Indiana moving east, and then you had new convection moving in. So the question was,
there were watches for all this area.
That's exactly right. Do you want to put up one watch, which would make things easier, tornado watch, because that covered the Indiana stuff and the Kentucky stuff, or do you want to put a tornado watch up to the north and a severe out to the south?
Right.
So I know why they did what they did. I don't. As a former weather service, I don't want 2 watches. One is enough. So anyway, so that makes total sense. They're going to drop the tornado watch. We've been saying that for the last hour.
Right, and hopefully we communicated that well. I tried to, because I know when we were in our afternoon meeting, I always give an update to the newsroom at 3 p.m. of what's going to go on. And at that point, we basically just had the Jackson and Jennings tornado watch to our north. And during that meeting, they extended the watch. And I was still like, this is mainly a wind event.
Correct.
Could see tornado warning or 2 in southern Indiana. But for the most part, it really is a northern, I mean, that's where the shear is. That's where the tornado threat has been. And that's what we've seen so far today, even with the big severe thunderstorm warnings. It's been to our north primarily and in our northernmost counties in Indiana.
Yeah, I mentioned to Doug Prophet at 6, it was very slim chance. And I really think they'll have even the severe they put out, I'm not sure they're going to put out many severe thunderstorm warnings. I think there'll be maybe a couple.
Right.
That's my opinion.
That's fair. I mean, we've been able to get through a lot of these storms recently with just special weather statements. So as I mentioned before, when they issue those, that doesn't pop up as a polygon on our system, but we see that so we can communicate to you, hey, this one's it's a little feisty, but it's not quite to the
Correct.
severe thunderstorm criteria, 58 mile per hour wind gusts, quarter size hail. Obviously, we're looking at more so the wind gusts than the hail with this.
I think the main threat of all is lightning. I think the second threat is possible heavy rain and isolated flooding. And third is actually going to be the wind.
Right.
I don't think there's really much of a hail threat, and I think the tornado threat is almost near zero. And this is for this part here. The stuff that's back up to the northwest is probably going to be even less than that. Probably they might put a few special weather statements up, maybe 30, 40 mile an hour winds here or there if you're in Bedford, for instance, or Princeton. I don't think that's going to be a big deal. Maybe disrupting your sleep, that might be about the only thing. One thing we can let me just look at the mesonet. So the Kentucky mesonet has had a gust of 41. Where was that when that went through? Who is that? Peak gust. Where am I? Sometimes I wonder what I'm doing wrong. I think that's the Oldham County station. 41 miles an hour. A lot of 30s, 25, 30s. You got it up there too. So.
Yeah. That's your computer.
Thank you. 42 down by Mammoth Cave. Even this, look at this. There is nothing on here in the state of Kentucky that is severe. You had a 41 in Shelby and Oldham, 42 by Edmondson, and that's it. So that kind of quantifies what we've been saying here right now. About the rain, NWS, rainfall, here we go. Yeah, so you see, this is a good example of what we're dealing with here. When you really get under a rain gauge or rain bucket, when you're actually measuring this and you get a heavy shower come over here, this station's in eastern Kentucky got well over an inch. I just think that's the problem right now. So SPC, they finally did go the watch. Let's go back to this analysis and look at some of the instability stuff. Let's look at the thermodynamics. So there's a lot of fuel. There's a lot of fuel all over this area. We go back to the wind shear. We can look at it many different quantifiable ways. There's a different way that looks at the total wind, the amount of shear in basically in a 10,000 foot layer. It's all over southern Indiana, that's the better area where there's turning with height. When there's turning with height, that gives you the threat for possible tornado warnings. And this area has already moved off to the east. In Ohio, they're having problems in Ohio. And this is all an Ohio tornado threat event. And then even look down here, it's not that strong. Go back to the winds here. Yeah, it's very moist, almost 2 inches. One thing we look at is called PWAT, P-W-A-T, precipitable water. And how much, if you took the entire atmosphere and squeezed out all the moisture you could. We used to do it with mathematics, but anyway, it will show you how much is in there, and it's soupy, very soupy, and it's deep. So the whole atmosphere is just full of moisture. So that's why I think that's the main threat. This is a typical summer air mass where I'll show you what you can see. Let's look at this. So I just picked a point near Louisville for an hour from now. So you have no surface-based instability, but off the deck you have elevated instability. So you look at that elevated area above the temperature, and you see this wind in here about 40 knots. So that's a threat that's why SPC went with a severe thunderstorm warning, watch rather. One number is the bottom right here, the bottom number, PWAT. Actually, it's gone down. It was 1.9 earlier. It's 1.68 according to this one model. And this one thing, another good reason for a weather person who's a geek, you always look at the difference between the red line and the green line. And the red line is temperature and the green line is moisture or dew point. And if you see a big surge or a big widening right there, there's dry air in the midst of all that. So you get water-loaded precip, and it comes down hard. And that's why, another reason SPC went with a severe thunderstorm watch with that convection that's moving off to the east. I still think it's a very low probability, but they may issue a couple warnings. This is not a high confidence severe thunderstorm watch.
No.
In our humble, to be honest, opinion.
In our humble opinion. Yeah, and it does look like, let's see if it has updated yet.
They got that out. They're coordinating it. It takes time to get this watch out.
Boom. Oh, we still got some weird PC.
Some people don't understand it. It takes a long time to get it out. So that's really interesting. So one of the computer models we look at really handles that well now, and then through time is not handling the new stuff. And I've been looking at a lot of the different data. We call them CAMS models, the convective mesoscale models, short range. So that is, let's see, that's an hour from now. It's sort of got a few areas. I think they're having trouble with the new stuff, honestly. Even your model, your Futurecast, looked like it was overdoing the news.
This is the ramped up to 11.
Look at that. I mean,
yeah. Like I said, this one always, we have one that underdoes it, and then we have one that overdoes it. And so you have to try to find that happy medium.
It's like the porridge. The first one was too hot, the second one was too cold.
This is our in-house model.
That's
just messier.
Right. So they got the watch out yet, or are they still?
Let's see.
Be interesting to see.
Looks like they
there it is. It's up.
The tour
there
for
it is.
A couple counties.
Yeah, they're going to deal with those 3 counties of ours, Grayson, Hardin, and Bullitt. That's waning too. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, I'd probably do the same thing. I'd let those 3 get over to the severe watch, and then they'll be gone. So that's about, let's see, that starts in...
we're seeing Grayson.
Yeah, maybe 30 more minutes. You'll be in a watch, tornado watch, but it'll be gone before you know it. Notice that Indianapolis, Central Illinois, Paducah, and Louisville's not doing anything with that new stuff that's developed south of Indianapolis, over there towards Bedford, Bloomington, Princeton. Those are not severe. Same thing down if you're in southwestern Kentucky near Madisonville, not severe either. Typical garden, what I call it garden variety storms, not the big deal. But prolific lightning.
Yeah, a lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain.
Look at that lightning. Lightning just south of Louisville, and the lightning down west of Bowling Green. Morgantown, Litchfield, lot of lightning.
Grayson County, too.
So I know Wednesday night, some of the churches meet tonight. I'm telling you, there's a lot of lightning. A lot of lightning. If you're down by in Grayson, Nolan Lake, Litchfield, out towards Beaver Dam, over to Mammoth Cave. Mammoth Cave would be a good place to be in, but anywhere else around there, a lot of lightning. And very, very heavy rain.
Yes.
Some of that's on the Parkway, west of E-Town. It does look like E-Town, it's finally creeping in. So that was our question from Paige, I think. It's coming. It'll be in E-Town before you know it, Paige. Anybody else send anything on?
No other questions. Once again, if anybody has a question they want to send to us, the number to text is 502-582-7290. 502-582-7290. And I have it pulled up right here, and it'll show me what your text is.
And if you got a picture, I'd love your picture.
Weather
the best thing you can do, we'll put it on the air.
Yes.
Send us your picture. When you got one of these heavy showers coming through, heavy rain, send it in. We'd love to promote it and look at the radar and correlate it.
Looks like we do have some storm damage called in. Todd's Point, Jefferson County, Kentucky. Tree down near Long Run Park blocking the roadway.
That's on the east side. Yeah, that's near the golf course.
Do you know what this means? Arcing and sparking?
Oh, that's probably from lightning. Arcing on our power lines.
Brush Run near Sharp Curve Echo Trail. That's near Fern Creek.
Probably near a power line that was sparking from probably a tree who hit it.
Okay.
That's my supposition. Very heavy rain.
Some water over the road.
Where?
Kentucky 86. This is Breckenridge County.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me.
That's that
stuff that's moving into Bullitt.
Yeah, still passable at slow speeds, but water's starting to obviously collect on the roads there.
Yeah, Bullitt, you're going to have flood problems, period. Period. Bullitt, for sure. Shelbyville, Shelby County. Shelby, Bullitt, and maybe part of Spencer. Very, very heavy rain. And the metro of Cincinnati, they're just issuing these enormous severe thunderstorms across the Buckeye State.
Yeah,
very, very heavy
got a
rain
few
up there.
tree damage reports here.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, that does not surprise us.
Saturated ground. We also have.
That was that warning we talked about.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
The one on the south side.
Yeah.
Oops.
What do you got up here? What are these two? Is that the arcing and sparking?
That's the arcing. One of these is the arcing and sparking. This one.
That one, okay.
Around Fern Creek.
And
then
that
I think
one right
two
there?
tree reports.
What is that thing?
One was, yeah, that's what I was talking about.
And
Long
the
Run
other
Park,
one is
Anchorage. This was the one that I said happened early before the storm.
That's right. I don't know what.
I don't know.
I don't know what time.
Gusty winds and
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
saturated ground. I don't know.
Send them in if you got any pictures. Yeah, look at this one. Can you go to my radar real quick?
Yes. 1
So
second.
this is the stuff we always worry about. Fortunately, we're not in a tornado environment. So look at this storm that's by Waddy, okay? It's called a renegade. All the main storms are out to the west. Now this one from Shelbyville splits and part of it goes off to the east. So you got a storm that's moving from the northwest to the southeast. Now you got a storm that's going from the southwest to the northeast. They merge together and they create tremendous rain. And that happens to be on an interstate called 64. So that is a serious problem. If you're on US 60, if you're on 64, east of Colonel Sanders Restaurant, going from Highway 60 over to Frankfort, very, very heavy rain. That area, Finchville, Shelbyville, I expect you're gonna have some water problems, period. I think you're gonna have some low spot water, low water crossings, turn around, don't drown, hydroplaning. Frankfurt, it's heading to you, Governor Beshear. It'll be there before you know it. Let's go over to let's go over to Bullitt County, Shepherdsville. So here's your renegade, same scenario. This one came up from near Lebanon Junction, moves off to the northeast. Then you got the storm off to the west that's coming from Shepherdsville. They merge together and it just pours. It doesn't just rain a little. Look at that merger. That merger, they come together and they just dump. The word in weather people like to use is copious. Copious amounts of rainfall.
Copious.
Doug Prophet, if you're listening, there's your word of the day. Copious amounts of rain. So anyway, that's the two big threats that we see. We see really heavy rain there in Shelby, going into Franklin, also Bullitt County. And it's just severe. There you go. The one that we were talking about with that merger. And you see that storm right now. That was because of the merger. You get heavy rain and you get a wind threat. Yep. That will be into Hart. And you want to do a track on that since we got a warning?
Yeah. We're going to go back to my radar here if we can. And I'm going to zoom into that new warning that we were talking about. So this one is just southeast of Litchfield here. You can see some very heavy rain. Looks like some purple on the radar if there's any hail that's trying to creep in there. This is heading towards Sonora and Bonneville. And this is pushing east northeastward. Let's see how long this one is in place for, until 8:30. And it's moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. So this is for your 60 mile per hour wind gusts there. Maybe some small hail. And I'm gonna put a tracker on this. Doop, doop, doop. All right. So Bonneville around 7:25 Central, Sonora 8:34 Eastern, Magnolia 8:44 Eastern, Hodgenville 8:52 Eastern, New Haven 9:12. So once again, this is the one severe thunderstorm warning that we currently have in our viewing area. It is to the southeast of Litchfield here in Grayson County and moving east-northeast around 30 miles per hour.
And that storm would not have gone severe had it not had a cell merger.
Yeah.
So the same thing, and the same thing in Shelby. That one in Shelby bears watching, that might do the same thing. In fact, it's bowing a little bit more towards Frankfort, just a little bit. So when you see a renegade that comes off on the leading edge and merges into the main convective cluster, often you see an uptick in the rainfall and the wind.
This guy right there.
Yep, there it is.
So you're watching that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Frankfurt, watch the winds in Frankfurt. If you're at the Capitol Airport, US 60 moving into the state capital, would not be surprised winds take an uptick. There's another merger down by, it's not our county area, but Edmonson County by Mammoth Cave. There's a bunch of these little renegade mergers. And if those are ones that are going to produce, that's going to make the lines more stout. That's also going to produce more wind. So let's just keep watching that. And also, this is kind of almost parallel flow. When you see parallel flow, that produces a lot of rain.
Heavy rain.
And so if you're in, let's just use Grayson since that's our county. Southern Grayson to Edmondson, all that stuff that's coming out of Butler County is all moving towards you.
Right.
I mean, that's got rainfall written all over it. You always look for where the moisture is transporting and the cells are moving. That's where your flash flood threat's going to always be. So I would think that's not a good situation.
Right. As we mentioned, that's kind of what we're transitioning to. A few severe storms in terms of winds. As he mentioned, if we're seeing some of those mergers. And on top of that, heavy rainfall rates. That can lead to some flooding concerns, a lot of lightning as well. So not great weather to be outdoors, regardless of if that cell is severe or not. But, you know, if you're in Shepherdsville, Mount Washington right now, you're getting a lot of heavy rainfall. In fact, it looks like they just issued a special weather statement on that. 50-mile-per-hour winds, nickel-sized hail possible.
Yeah, we just talked about that. Imagine that. Yeah, that's a good move. That's the one that really, I mean, very heavy rain in there. I wouldn't be surprised you start to see some flash flood warnings from the Weather Service in certain areas.
Right.
You saw what happened in Washington County just the other day, yesterday, and Hardin County a couple days ago, same situation. You have a lot of moisture. The ground is fairly wet. A lot of people are sick and tired of this rain, but you're seeing stuff fall over these areas. You'll see a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, and I wouldn't be surprised you see a flash flood warning here or there.
And talking about the rain, I'm just going to switch around to a few graphics here. In terms of how much rainfall we've seen so far this year, more than 30 inches at the airport. And obviously the airport doesn't get every single heavy downpour that we have across the area, but that's where our official records are kept there. So more than 30 inches, that is 6.5 inches above normal for our year to date. So what we typically have at this point in the calendar year. And last year we had less than 22 inches at this point. So we are more than 8 inches above where we were last year. So yeah, if you're sick and tired of the rain, there's a good reason for it because it has been
wet.
It has been a wet year so far. This is my obviously first calendar year back here in Louisville after spending 3 years out in the desert.
She came home, folks. She's back home.
Man, we had some big snows. We've had some big severe weather. We've had a lot of rain, more rain than I've seen in the last couple of years. So, but I'm done with it too.
You're even sick of it.
I'm like a few hot days. I mean, yes, heat can obviously pose a risk, and nobody loves heat and humidity combined, but it'll be nice to complain about that for a couple days.
That's right.
To be honest.
Yeah, I think that Shelby County special weather statement is really good. There's a couple surges of wind right there.
Let's see if I can find those on our.
Can you pull the wind up? Velocity on there. That would go a little bit. Yeah, not showing up as much.
I want it. Yeah. Sometimes it's easier to see.
It really just shows up these really surges of wind and heavy rain, and it's very parallel. So you're getting mergers on a parallel flow, so you just don't get one rain shower. You get 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 and thunder shower and mixed in, and you're starting to see even these little odd mergers. Even what's coming out if you're in Washington County, those mergers in Marion County, you see those cells coming up. Those will eventually get into that flow, and once again, that could surge it up. So those are really key to this, and that's what escalated that warning down south, the one for Grayson County, was those mergers. And there's another merger coming in I see, and these little, I learned this from a guy named Kevin at the office, giblets. I don't know why he had spritzoids and giblets. So you can ask Kevin why he said all that. I don't know, you just learn these things. But yeah, that's a good warning. If you're near Wax, I've been to Wax. I went on a tornado survey earlier this year in Wax. And Anita, that looks like some very torrential rain and some wind. One of the algorithms is going for nickel-sized hail. And then you go further back to the southwest. Extremely heavy rain up by Mammoth Cave.
Sure.
It's pounding rain in there. So you're going to see some pictures on social media of some flooded areas. A lot of them are low spots. The Weather Service cannot issue for every low spot since there's so many of them. Try to look for the biggest ones. Shelby County, you're just getting pounded with rain. And we've been mentioning Bullitt for the last hour, and it's really heavy rain. You got something?
Trying to get some pictures in here.
Oh, we got some pictures. Okay, Bullitt County, very heavy rain. Northern part of Spencer, Shelby County, coming into the capital city right now. The wind threat continues in Grayson and out to the further to the southwest. And all that flow is kind of parallel right now, which means it rains for a much longer period of time, and you have more problematic threat of getting some high water, some low spots, some flooding. So I'm waiting to see if they're going to drop those counties for this
from the tornado watch once those storms pass through.
Yeah.
Some person asked about Greene County.
Will
it weaken before it heads my way?
No, you're going to get rain.
Right.
You're going to get rain. Greene County, Greensburg, and the drive-in at Summersville. Love that drive-in theater. Anyway, what do you got? What do you got? About an hour and.
At the very least, heavy rain, lots of lightning headed your way.
Maybe 90 minutes, 9:30.
Yeah, we'll see what the winds do at that point because the sun will be setting. But we're watching that one severe thunderstorm warning. That's heading more northeast.
Yeah, I mean, heavy rain and lightning is probably your thing. If you got I want the drive-in, be careful if it's raining. A lot of heavy rain moving into Litchfield, E-Town. We had that question earlier, and by God, it's raining in E-Town. How about them apples?
I'm sure it's not what they want after
Sorry.
Monday night, but hopefully it doesn't lead to the kind of flooding concerns that we saw at that point.
So we really believe that this is a rain event with some wind here and there. It's really lightning 1, heavy rain 2, wind 3. And look at that lightning by Shelbyville. Can you do one of those things, your boxes, how much lightning?
The query,
strike?
yeah.
Yeah, the query. Look at Shelby County.
This
Just
one?
do that area, yeah.
Okay.
The word might be prolific.
278 strikes.
Yeah.
So if you're hearing a lot of thunder and you're seeing flashes in the sky,
if you're at the distillery at Jethro, or you're at any of the baseball parks in Shelbyville, it's probably not good.
You're going to have a delay for a while.
There might be a delay. Look at those mergers. And the rainfall just goes nuts.
Yep.
So if you're on 64 East, going to Frankfurt, you have slow go on that interstate. The speeds are definitely reduced, to say the least.
There might even be a little bit of hail with
Oh, my friend just sent a picture.
heading toward Taylor's.
I'm trying to think what she sent me.
Oh,
she had wind. My
some
friend
patio furniture.
Linda, if you're there, my friend Linda, my massage therapist, her umbrella went flying, her patio furniture went flying, and I can't tell what the heck that is.
Also, tree down in Okolona.
Oh, we mentioned that earlier, yeah.
Continuing the severe down in Hart, Grayson, Hardin, Edmondson, and LaRue. So that's this storm.
I'm just texting my friend to find out what damage she had.
Yeah, so we're getting some reports in here from trees down. That seems to be the main thing, some sparking and arcing or whatever I said it was.
I'm still trying to figure out what that is, but I think that was
That
a
seems
tree.
like a power line thing?
Yeah, I think that's with trees on the power lines.
Right.
And they surge and they arc. If you're a power person, send her a note and
Yeah, let me
we
know
will put
what
it on the air.
sparking and arcing means.
Sparking and arcing. There
I
you
saw
go.
that in the NWS chat and I was like, oh. Yeah, mainly tree reports. Todd's Point.
Yeah.
We saw one in Fern Creek.
And there's definitely a surge of wind in Shelby and Franklin. Weather Service does not have anything out for you right now in Franklin, but I'd expect 40 to 50 mile an hour winds. Basically, east of Shelbyville, Frankfort, stomping grounds.
Heavy rain heading towards Taylorsville right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Seeing a little bit of purple, so maybe some small hail in that.
Definitely, for sure. And then the same thing, what you see is down east of Litchfield, very heavy rain. Would not be surprised. I see some trees down near Brownsville, between Brownsville and Litchfield, with that warning that they have out right now for 60. Maybe a little hail below 1 inch in criteria. And then the continuous rain that seems not to end over there towards Mount Washington and Shelbyville and Frankfort. The Weather Service might need to put out a flash flood or flood advisory.
Yeah, that's
for
a lot of rain.
They're getting
Mount Washington's getting slammed.
They're getting pounded. Taylorsville, believe me, it's coming. Is it coming to Taylorsville? Yes. Period. Frankfort, yes. Period. It's coming. How about our friends in Sadieville and Georgetown? Yes, it's coming. Taylorsville, Shepherdsville, E-Town, lots of heavy rain. The metro, if you're in the Louisville metro, you're probably wondering what in the heck's going on. It's not raining here. Well, it's moved to your south and east. And the only part of the, look at that.
So once again, the most concerning part of this system is this leading line, and really where you're seeing all the severe warnings are it's off to our north and northeast. I mean, obviously we have a couple of severes here locally, but as John mentioned, these little giblets, not as worried about. Maybe some heavy rainers.
Yeah.
But the severe threat is now southeast of Louisville.
Yep. Yeah, we're waiting. We'll stay on here probably through when this tornado watch goes, and we'll see what's going on at that point. Have they cleared those counties yet, or are they still?
Not yet.
I probably are waiting for it to get east of 65, and I understand that.
I wanted to check power outages. Thankfully, nothing too major.
Good move.
500 customers out in Spencer County, Henry County.
What's that one in Cincinnati?
5,000, that's Campbell County.
Yeah, I bet you there's more even into the metro.
Oh, I'm sure. This is just for Kentucky specifically, but
Yep.
Thankfully not too bad to cause some power outages. A couple hundred here or there sprinkled in Kentuckiana, but other than that, tree damage reports is what we're seeing primarily.
Yeah, now let's look at the lightning. Prolific lightning from Frankfort. They just issued a new severe that's the one we just mentioned. I told you about that merger a couple minutes ago. So that merger they just issued. We told about eastern Shelby County and the Franklin. So they just issued for Franklin up into Scott County, Sadieville, all along that I-75 going north towards, Cincinnati again. They also have that one severe we talked about. But look at the lightning from Shelby east, and then there's a kind of a drop off, and then there's prolific lightning from Grayson, Edmondson, and if you have friends down to the southwest towards Murray, Kentucky, all along there, tremendous rain. And it's now in the Bowling Green, it's in Warren County now. So if you have kids down there, they're getting tremendous rain down there. And believe it or not, there's more showers and storms coming out of Madisonville, so the rain is not over tonight for sure. There's definitely more showers and thunderstorms. So there's really that one warning. It didn't surprise me they issued that because they had that cell merger. And you see, anytime you see one of these conditions, you see one of these mergers, you'll see an uptick in the wind and the heavy rain, and that's what's happened again. Fortunately, the only one that I'm really watching is the one coming out of, it just came out of Washington and Springfield, Lebanon area. That's moving up towards to the east. Hopefully that won't merge with anything.
Oh, these guys?
Yep, those two little giblets, moving up there. Look at the lightning here in Shelby. My gosh. So, let's see.
Yep, so basically right now we're seeing some noisy storms, heavy downpours, gusty winds as well, small hail, blown tree limbs, violent thunder.
Yeah, my friend Linda. Linda, thank you for the report.
Thanks for the report.
Blown tree limbs. Her patio furniture has moved down again. And it's not just thunder, it's violent thunder.
Violent. Yeah, and so here's that number, guys. If you all have any weather photos or videos you'd like to send, we'd love to see them. It gives us an idea of where we've had impacts and where we've seen storm reports that we can send on to the National Weather Service. Of course, we could show your photos and videos in a later newscast. So that number is 502-582-7290. 502-582-7290, and that will show up on my computer over here, and we can talk about it on this stream. So I'm looking to see if there's any more reports into the National Weather Service. Local storm report, tree down between Long Run Road and Sycamore Ridge Drive. Once again, that's also in Jefferson County. So basically any kind of reports that we've been getting so far this evening have been tree damage reports. Heavy rainfall, that will become an increased threat as we carry onward into tonight. And so flooding will also be an increased threat as well. So worried about some flash flooding concerns. And at this time we have one severe thunderstorm warning for our particular viewing area. And that is with that storm moving out of Grayson County.
Yep.
So I'm going to zoom back to that. My computer's like, you're trying too hard. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I'm stretching. So it's
Looks
really
like
a
they
heavy
issued-
rain threat. If you're in Spencer, you're in Shelbyville, Shelby County, you're in Franklin, you're in Scott, this is a heavy rain threat. And you also have a wind threat with the cell merger. That's basically from Frankfurt. It'll be interesting what the Mesonet reported there as that went through. From Frankfurt all the way over to Scott County, Kentucky, I-75. Before we mention I-71, I-75 is about to be a disaster. So if you go from just east of Frankfurt all the way up towards Cincinnati, it is going to be pouring rain. So please slow down. Also, very heavy rain that goes into Taylorsville. Mallory's been mentioning that. I-65, it's coming parallel to I-65. So if you go from, let's say the 93-mile marker down by Elizabethtown, all the way down through Upton, Sonora at the 84-mile marker, Bonnieville, down to Munfordville. Very heavy rain along the 65 corridor. All on the southbound, they've been issuing special weather statements down south. That's probably what I would be doing.
Looks like there's a giant.
Yeah, that's a smart move. There's just too many with prolific lightning, very heavy rain. Hart County, Munfordville, all in that area. And they just issued a giant severe too. They got special weather statements and severes. So they're going with the wind. I have not seen these reports. Let me look at the Mesonet, see if there's any reports of the wind. Have you seen anything?
Not so much. Let's see.
42 down in Edmondson. We'll see if they get any reports with that. It's kind of a big warning. We'll see what they get out of that. Yeah, they went. Maybe they're getting something that we don't know. Let's see what they're getting. They went
Does
60.
look like there's a little bit of a surge.
A little bit.
There. So this is the warning that we're looking at. This is not in our viewing area, but South Central Kentucky around Bowling Green, down to Franklin, also Brownsville as well. In addition to that, we just have this one warning that we've been watching southeast of Litchfield, heading toward Sonora, Bonnieville as well. And that warning takes us until 8:30, I believe.
Yeah, even more, what really stands out to me, I know they put that big warning out, but it really stands out to me of a flash flood threat even more than the wind. Because it's all being inflow fed, surging on the line, it's parallel. It's moving more northeast than it's moving east. So that's a really classic setup for very heavy rain and possible some flooding. with the conditions we have, with all that rain that we have, all the water vapor in the atmosphere to work with.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see, Louisville, you're okay. Harrison County, Clark County, Floyd County, you're in good shape. Scott County, you're okay, but look what's on your door there. If you're in Paoli, you're in Bedford. By golly, we mentioned Bedford. It's pouring there right now. Before you know it, Seymour, you're going to get it. You're in Columbus,
And they're probably like, we already went through this evening.
I know. We're in sales, not production. So we're trying. Shelby County, very, very heavy rain. And I'm trying to remember, do the flash flood warnings pop up on yours automatically?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. That might be something that we might see. Look at that lightning east of Litchfield. Wax, Bonnieville.
We did just get a new severe. This is for that storm over Taylorsville.
Yep, that's that surge. Yeah.
So this is the newest warning. This is until 8:45. So this does include Taylorsville for those strong winds. And in addition to that, obviously, extremely heavy rainfall, too.
Yep. Yep. Be interested. They got any reports in the Slack? Anything that's coming in?
Outside of the tree damage, no. No wind reports that we're seeing.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So let's start big. We're gonna
You zoom out and then we'll go through the radar.
regroup. Yes. All right. So here's that big picture view of the radar this evening at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. So big picture view showing obviously where we've had the ongoing severe threat. You can see it's marching across Ohio, moving into Columbus. It's moved through Cincinnati. Lots of heavy rainfall, strong winds. I mean, I keep saying this, but that orange or yellow color, it's just a giant swath of severe thunderstorm warnings that have been tracking down across the entire state. They were over in Indiana. They've continued to track eastward into Ohio. And on the southern edge, we're starting to see a few more severe thunderstorm warnings issued, heavy rainfall makers, lots of lightning as well. So we have, it does look like Frankfort, areas off to the east and northeast. That isn't necessarily in our viewing area, but you might be streaming from that area. There is a severe thunderstorm warning there. And then also for this one that just got issued around Taylorsville, this will take us until 8:45. A surge of some winds there, 60 miles per hour possible. And on top of that, as we keep mentioning, just very heavy rainfall, likely some loud storms as well. I mean, just look at all the lightning strikes there. So you're seeing the lightning, you're hearing the thunder. Definitely impactful storms that are moving very east-northeastward. So they're taking longer, as you mentioned, to get out of here. And that's why that's going to enhance our flooding threat. And then down to the south, still getting rain in Bullitt County. Heaviest rain is now moving on the east side of E-Town. And then we have this severe thunderstorm warning moving over Sonora and Bonnieville. And that will take us for the next 10 minutes or so until 7:30 Central Time.
Okay, so let's go through each one of these, focus in. Let's start up in Shelby County. So that new severe thunderstorm warning that just went up, that's a good warning. There is a surge of wind that's really popped up in the part of the eastern part of Shelby County, right on the Franklin County line. So basically west of 127. So west of 127 and east of Shelbyville. I'm trying to think what town that is, my mind. What town would that be in? Eastern part of Shelby County. Baghdad, thank you. So if you're in the Baghdad area, I would expect 60, 65 mile an hour winds. That really shows up well on the radar. A surge of wind and extremely heavy rain. Just saw a note from someone about high water. It's getting up to the ditches. The ditches are completely full. Does not surprise me. I would be prepared for some flash flooding if I was in Shelby County, western part of Franklin County right now. All right, let's go back to the southwest. Oh yeah, we've been mentioning Bullitt for the last hour and a half. The good news is Bullitt, you're only in the 65 east of there and you're almost done with this mess. Let's go down to the southwest. So let's do the first one, the first severe, that is east of Wax. The main threat with that one right now is Bonneville. The Bonneville area of Hart County. I don't have any other towns, unfortunately. I got to add more towns. Our goal is to add more and more of these small towns, so when we do these events, I can help you out folks more with some better stuff. But if you're basically Bonneville, northwest of Munfordville, the radar to me showing about 55 to 60 mile an hour winds and a lot of lightning. Now the new severe, which doesn't cover most of our viewing area, that big severe, that shows a lot of heavy rain. There's a few little notches of wind in there. I've checked the mesonet in the last 15 minutes. I saw some 30s. I think that is potential right now, but right now most of it's between 40 to 45 mile per hour winds. We're kind of high up on the radar beam. Nashville also went the same thing. There's a plethora of severe thunderstorm warnings that basically go from west of Nashville all the way up on the 65 corridor, covers Russell and down there in Franklin, Allen County, Warren County, Bowling Green, Edmonson County. And then that other severe that comes out of the Hart-LaRue County warning. LaRue, so if you're down in Sonora, you're in Upton. I think the strongest wind max is between Upton, Bonneville, and west of Sonora. Louisville Metro, you're okay. And the one that really stands out to me near us is that one that's Shelbyville, east of Shelbyville, up to Frankfort, up to Sadieville and Scott County.
Yeah, it really got that burst of wind there.
Yeah, there's a burst of wind in there. That one is a really good warning, a legitimate warning, and I think I'd be prepared to, and it's going to go on for more than a minute. There's a bunch of this. This is it's a longevity. It's parallel flow, so it's not just going to rain for a minute or two. You're going to get several bursts of rain.
My brother just sent me a rainbow picture.
Oh, put that on the air.
Yeah. I wish I could easily just like mirror it.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know how you. I'm not. Yeah.
That's near J-Town, Fern Creek area.
Thank you for that report.
Yeah, that's my brother Nick.
Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
So yeah, Louisville, it's all to our south and east.
Frankfort reported northwest wind at 20, gusts into 40. Visibility's down to a half a mile. They received almost a half inch of rain in the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Is that the airport?
Yep, Capitol Airport. Yep. Yeah, the winds have gone northwesterly. That's that surge of wind pushing through right now. Yeah, so, but to me, this really stands out is that surge of wind. There's 3 surges. The one is in Spencer. That's Taylorsville, moving east of Taylorsville. Mount Eden, Waddy, Finchville, all in there. There's a tremendous surge of wind. Frankfort, we just did that wind for you. Stamping grounds over in Scott County. Sadieville on I-75. If you're on I-75 and you're trying to drive towards Cincinnati, it's not going to be pretty.
So basically on this velocity,
That's great.
you're seeing all these purples and pinks.
That's great.
That is where you're seeing those surges of wind.
That's the one I was talking about.
This one, yeah. Yep. So this is heading, what, east?
East-northeast.
East-northeast. Mount Eden.
Yep.
Lots of strong wind heading your direction. So that's why we have this warning that is from Taylorsville and continues northeastward toward Frankfort. And this will take us until 8:45. So that's for those strong winds that we've been seeing, that kind of surge of wind there showing up on velocity. And the reason for that severe thunderstorm warning that was issued from the National Weather Service. And down to the south, we still have a severe warning. Boop, hold on. But really, that warning that we were just showing really shows that surge. This one, just a lot of heavy rainfall. And this warning is allowed to expire in the next 2 minutes, the one that you're seeing near Sonora and Bonneville. But look at that rain. And as John mentioned, these storms are moving more northeast than east. So you're going to get, rounds of heavy rainfall there that will increase our flooding threat, certainly.
Yep. Yeah, so that really showed up well, what you just saw from Mallory, the velocity. So folks, if you're in Taylorsville over to Frankfurt, tremendously strong winds and very heavy rain. There is no tornado threat right now. It's very almost near zero. This is a lightning, heavy rain, and some wind. So those are, sometimes we call this water loading. And there's a lot of water in the atmosphere, and there's some wind. I showed you that dry air SCUT earlier where there's that little burst there area that can water load and come down. And there you go. Those areas that I don't know if you can circle those. You can show them.
Yeah.
That's on the velocity. That's the areas basically in this area right there.
All of this, but yeah. You're seeing those bright pinks there.
Yeah, those are, if nothing else, tremendous rainfall rates. Like when you can't see 100 yards, basically.
I got caught in one of those over the weekend.
Not pretty.
And that was not fun.
Nope. Not
On the interstate.
oh, not good.
Not
You took an alternate word, didn't you?
Well, no, this was a different.
Another one.
Another day. We've had a lot of rain, John, recently. I know you've been out of the country.
I was in Canada and missed this, but yes, I heard it rained a lot.
We had some, and it was one of those things where you were stuck in a downpour, and then once you got out of it, you were fine. That was when it was more scattered over the weekend.
Look at this, show this right now.
Yeah, so these are rainfall rates.
Yeah.
Of course, this is radar estimated from our system, but you're talking 3 inches per hour just being dumped. So that's with the storm over Taylorsville, heading toward Frankfurt. Heavy rainfall. Basically anywhere along this line where you're seeing the bright pinks and purple color. That heavy rainfall down near Upton, Sonora. They dropped the severe thunderstorm warning, but it does not mean that the storm is not impactful for you, especially if you're out in it, because you're seeing all the reds and oranges here on the map with the heavy rain and the very frequent lightning as well.
Yep. So, let's look at the lightning. Look at the lightning in Spencer, Shelby, Franklin, Scott, off the charts. Then we go down on the 65 corridor. Look at the lightning. E-Town, and then you go on the Western Kentucky Parkway. All that, lots of lightning. Second, look at the heavy rainfall. These big red colors you see on Mallory's radar, they're just plump, big crimson red. They've got a lot of water in them. The radar hits them. It shows all that water in there, and they look really attenuated, and you see that big red burst. Those are very high rainfall rates. Third, there's a burst of wind that we've been pointing out that goes from Taylorsville up towards Scott County and Sadieville.
Yeah.
All in there. So Anderson County, you're coming next. It's coming in towards you in Lawrenceburg, south of Frankfurt on US 127, south of 64, Shelbyville, Waddy, Patonia, all in that area, all the way towards Frankfurt, US 60, going over to Georgetown.
We have more power outages. Spencer County, 1,300 customers. Bullitt County, 3,400. Heading toward Franklin, only 500, but I'm expecting that number to increase.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're going to see more in that area. And let's see. One thing to think about is wet lanes don't hydroplane, okay, for hydroplaning. I'm telling you, this is a classic setup. The roads are wet. So please slow down. We got a bunch of major highways, 75, I-64, the Kentucky Parkway, I-65, all with very, very heavy rain. I'm looking to see if the Mesonet has reported any wind gust that really stands out. Let's see the wind, current winds. Yeah, I have not seen more than 22 miles an hour. That's down by Bowling Green. Got to remember, you got to have a station to report, folks.
Right, that's the problem.
So let's just pick one that we're kind of interested in. Let's go to a station and look at. Let's take a look at. It's over by Frankfurt, Fayette County. 80 degrees still in Lexington. Then you go back to the west. Shelbyville, 68. That's 12 degrees and a mere 40 miles. The dew points come way down in Shelby County with all that rain. They dropped to 62. They were 72 earlier. Same thing, Franklin County. Northwest at 9. Dew points come down to 66. But it hasn't come into Taylor County. You're still running 80 degrees with a dew point of 74. Let's go back to the west. Breckenridge County, that's in between. So you get this cool rained air, then the air mass recovers, the sun comes out a little bit, what's left of it, and you jump back up into the low 80s. Look at western Kentucky. All in the western Kentucky is in the low 80s. So there's more fuel, and there's more storms firing off to the west. If you go back up there towards the west, towards Evansville and St. Louis, there's still storms moving in, although they're not severe. Really heavy rain threat continues, and they just put a new kind of severe out that covers all that stuff up to the northeast of our area, all up in
this
there.
one?
Yeah, they just put a big fat one up. So I'm waiting to see if we get any reports on there. I really also beware that I'd consider a lot of those same areas to be in a flash flood warning. Turn around, don't drown. Wet lanes, don't hydroplane. Before you know it, yeah, he just texted me. I couldn't remember what he told me today. That's what he's working on, the National Hydro Campaign.
Okay.
Wet lanes, don't hydroplane.
I like that.
So we got trying to cut something that's catchy. Yep, good deal. So the main wind threat continues to be Frankfort, Franklin County, Scott County, Kentucky, Lawrenceburg, Anderson County, Midway. It's coming to you in Midway, Lawrenceburg. Let's look. I'll give you some locations, folks. Along 60, I-64, all in there.
Okay, yeah, you can take that. We did get a report of a large tree across the road.
What's going on?
In Fairdale, and so that was put into the chat from the National Weather Service. It does look like they're going to continue with a special weather statement for Washington, Spencer, Woodford County, Nelson County, Mercer County as well. So here's kind of that big picture view here. This is likely for, let's see, winds maybe 40 to 50 miles per hour. So that's the in-between part here, in between the warning off to the northeast and the warning off to the southwest. So obviously a lot of heavy rainfall, some gusty winds. The one warning that we still do have in place is for this wind that's really peaking south and east of Shelbyville, heading toward Harrisonville, and eventually over to Frankfort. Seeing those kind of bright pink colors on the radar there, that's how you know there's some strong winds included. And that's why we do have this severe thunderstorm warning until 8:45 for that general area. But other than that, a giant severe thunderstorm warning for south central Kentucky that stretches from Mumfordville basically down to the state line there, just covering their bases with that line of storms that's rolling through. And that's really what we were seeing for these areas off to our north and northeast. I mean, the entire state of Ohio has some kind of severe thunderstorm warning. That's what you're seeing in that gold color. Just west of Cleveland, seeing a tornado warning. That's where the best rotation was, areas off to the north today. We saw a few storms in southern Indiana earlier this afternoon that looked like they might want to kind of tighten up or rotate, but they did behave, and we were allowed to just get by with some severe thunderstorm warnings during the 4, 5, and 6 o'clock newscast. Other than that, it does look like a few tornado warnings down with some singular cells in Tennessee. But for us, here's that view of just our Kentuckiana viewing area. A lot of lightning, obviously. I can turn off the lightning. You're seeing all the reds, very heavy rainfall. We've been saying this time and time again for the last several days, a lot of moisture for these storms to tap into. So once it rains, it really does pour, and that's when we can see some flooding concerns, and would not be surprised if we see, yes, flood advisory now for Hart, Grayson, Edmonson County. Would not be surprised if some of these do become flash flood warnings at times this evening and tonight. So please be safe, especially once that sun does set. We will continue to lose the steam in terms of the severe weather threat, but still tracking some storms that are forming on the backside of this. And they're still showing some reds and oranges. So you still have some heavy rainfall makers. Some of these might not even have lightning with them, but there's still plenty of moisture to their disposal. And so you want to be cautious about any kind of flash flood threat. But let's take a look at the Futurecast and see what the latest look at the HRRR shows. So it has that line of storms that we're seeing from Litchfield over to Frankfort, trying to initialize that. On the backside, these look really angry up near Jasper, but those are not severe warned. Those are kind of those individual cells. This all pushes off to the east. That severe weather threat exits out of here by about 10 p.m. or so. And then you're just left with what could be additional rounds of scattered showers, maybe a few thunderstorms through tonight and tomorrow. And then beyond that, for anybody who didn't catch the 7-day forecast earlier, we do have a pattern change on the way. So this is going to transition into your summertime pattern here. You can see Friday looking like a pretty nice summer-like day, actually. We're going to start off in the 60s, top out in the mid to upper 80s. Humidity will decrease for about a day or two before it increases yet again. So for that first weekend of summer, Saturday and Sunday, expect a lot of sunshine. You'll want to find a way to stay cool and stay hydrated. Temperatures warming into the low to mid 90s. Humidity starts to creep back in, especially by Sunday. And with that, you're talking heat index. Heat indices rolling back in here. So that's going to increase Sunday onward. And with that, obviously, your feels like temperatures will also increase as well. I'm going to try to pull up the dew point for the next several days here. Obviously, you can see the 90s taking us into next week. But here's that dew point tracker. So once this system moves out tomorrow, we should actually see some improvements tomorrow night. Friday will likely bring us the most comfortable dew points. So if you have outdoor plans, Friday looking pretty good. Saturday, not too bad, maybe starting to feel a little muggy. And then by Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, unfortunately, we're going to have the heat and we're going to have the humidity as well. So that's going to combine for some very high heat indices in the upper 90s and even triple digits carrying into next week. So that is what is to come once we get this storm system out of here. Once again, not out of the woods with those rain chances tomorrow, but not looking at a severe threat. And then that front moves through, we get high pressure overhead, the ridge building in, and eventually that heat dome as well. KFFT, which airport is
Frankfurt.
Gust of 59.
There you go, folks. That's the one we were talking about. Frankfurt discussed 59 miles an hour. I'm hearing some sporadic reports of high water in Franklin, Shelby, and Spencer counties, and that was that surge. So when you see those two that are coming right there, those two that are coming out of Anderson and Woodford County, they will merge into this main line on 64 right there, and that will increase the wind even stronger. So if you're in, is that Scott? Yeah, Scott County. Scott and perhaps even Fayette, I know that's out of our area, that will increase those winds. That's what happened. That's the cell that merged in Shelby and went into Franklin. And look what you just got. You got a gust to almost 60 miles an hour. That was the same one we saw down south in Grayson County. And that is the surge. And the same thing they just issued on my Mammoth Cave. There was a cell merger there as well. So when you get these little storms ahead of the lane line and they move in, and when there's a lot of already instability into the atmosphere, you get this water loading where it just pushes straight down, and you saw that wind gust. What was the wind direction? West? Yeah, west. Yeah, west, northwest. That's very common. Okay.
I just want to mention there is a storm report, Mount Washington. Phone power lines down.
No surprise.
Between Lawson Lane and Stringer Lane.
Yep, we hit that pretty hard. Spencer, Taylor County, Spencer right in there, Taylorsville rather. No surprise. You also see the uptick in the lightning. That's usually a good red flag of where that wind is going to push in, and there it is. That was a really good warning from the Weather Service. That really stands out to me. I'm still looking at the one down south. That one doesn't concern me as much. It's the stuff that basically runs the one into from basically eastern Shelby. In fact, it's moving out of Spencer County. Spencer County, you're almost out of this. You're almost out of the woods. It's the Shelby, Anderson, Franklin. I'm looking. We have our county cheat sheet up here, by the way. All in here. Tremendous wind in Georgetown, Frankfort. Let my mind. Which county is that?
Especially with those mergers.
Yeah, those mergers moving in out of Woodford and Versailles. They're going to merge right in there. You're going to see a big explosion of wind on US 60 between Frankfort and Georgetown. If you're between Georgetown and Frankfort on the state capital on US 60, on 64, you're going to see a lot of wind. And also, if you don't need to drive to Frankfort right now, don't. Delay your trip. Have a cup of coffee.
You don't want to be caught in that.
You don't want to be caught in this. Wet lanes, don't hydroplane. I-75, same problem. Heavy rain all the way between Lexington and going up to Cincinnati. I-65, you're getting into the new thing, going down south. If you're south of the Louisville Metro, look at that mess down there. If you're all in that area on basically from E-Town southbound, Bonnieville, Mumfordville, towards the caves, Horse Cave and Cave City. It's coming before you know it. Bending back, Bowling Green. It'll be interesting to see the Bowling Green obs coming up. Currently, Bowling Green is west-northwest at 15 gusts into 32. Yeah, I was going to guess 40, so we'll see if we get anything more than that. That area, you know, they have a warning out, but I'm more concerned north of there. The real strongest winds continue to show up by the capital city airport, Lawrenceburg, Anderson County, Stamping Grounds, Georgetown, all in there. All in there. I'm just seeing if you got
I'm just seeing if there was anything. Nope.
Yeah. So this radar would indicate to me that the winds, Lawrenceburg, 50 to 60 mile an hour winds in the next 5 minutes. So if you're in Anderson County, your kids were playing, bring them in. The winds are going to be really strong very soon, along with very heavy rain and, of course, lightning. Tornado threat is almost zero.
Yeah.
This is a wind, heavy rain, and lightning threat.
I'm looking to see if this
I'm
is
just checking the
updated.
lightning.
I'm assuming they'll just let this go until 9 and then,
Yes.
yeah. This
Yeah, that thing's going to die. So if you're in those 3 other counties, Grayson, Hardin, Bullitt, they'll be gone in 15 minutes. Gone. And is this one go till?
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
don't know, what time did that one go? Is that part of the same?
Yeah, I think that was all issued
Is that all the same thing?
at once, yeah.
All right, so that whole pink mess will be gone. You'll have one watch, basically Hart, LaRue, Nelson, Spencer, Shelby, Henry, eastbound. Yep. Yeah. One good thing, the hail threat is almost, anything more than a half is almost zero. This is a lightning 1, heavy rain 2, wind 3, in my mind.
Yeah.
Yep. And let's wait till that watch goes and see what they do. Yeah. In fact, they dropped that one warning. The one that came out of Grayson is gone.
Yeah.
And we're losing the warnings. There we go. Yeah. We told you to about sundown. So the ones that really stand out to me are the stuff up in northern Kentucky. Yep. Yep. Still think if you're Frankfort eastbound, northeastbound, that's a strong area of wind and heavy rain. But if you're in between, it's a lot of heavy rain and lightning.
Yep.
We're going to at least stay through this end of the tornado watch, so in about 13 minutes.
Yeah, so for our director listening in and for our digital team working to put this stream together, we'll likely go through about 9 o'clock and allow that watch to expire. Doesn't mean we're completely done with the threat for tonight, but it's really going to wane after that point. We have the sun setting. We'll likely see less and less of these severe thunderstorm warnings and just more rain, some wind that doesn't quite meet that severe criteria, and also some lightning as well. So obviously we're still seeing that line of storms that's tracking from northern Kentucky through south central Kentucky as well. You're seeing all of that frequent lightning. You're likely hearing the thunder at home. You might be seeing the lightning strikes as well. Heavy downpours will certainly continue to be a risk. So if you are out driving, please be safe. But in terms of severe threats, those should continue to diminish here.
Yep. So let's go through from the north to the south. We'll go do a complete summary of this. So if we start up towards...
Did you want to use your radar?
Can we do mine? Do you mind?
Yeah.
All right, that'll be fine. Thank you. Bless you. All right. Okay, here we go. We're going to go north to south. Let's start up by Cincinnati. That line has gone through the metro of Cincinnati. Actually, this thing goes up to Lake Erie. This is Detroit. Actually, there's a new tornado warning. It's just west of Cleveland. That's kind of interesting. If you know anyone in Cleveland, that's that part of that squall line. So that's concerning. Anyway, these warnings, we got severes all the way from Lake Erie and actually southern Ontario. That goes all the way through Ohio, and it's moved significantly. That's what's interesting. There's a push with the jet stream pushing that out of Ohio. But down here, the flow is more parallel, so it moves a lot further to the east in Ohio. Around down here, it's a lot slower to the east because it's moving northeast and east. That goes all the way down to Cincinnati, and we're going to go down further. Our line, let's get into our area. So we have basically from Harrison County, Cynthiana, Scott County, down towards the Toyota plant in Georgetown and stamping grounds. Very heavy rain. That surge of wind looks like it's more 40, 50 mile an hour wind stuff now. They've dropped those warnings. The Weather Service has let those go. I still worry about that merger. There's one more merger coming into Fayette. So if you're in Lexington and Bourbon counties, Harrison County, beware. You might get an upgrade from a special weather statement to a severe thunderstorm warning. The rain continues. By golly, it continues in Frankfort. I would not be surprised some localized flooding around Franklin County. A lot of lightning. Bardstown, if you're on the parkways near Bardstown, Darnstar E-Town, Hodgenville. And then you've got this long extended line of stuff from Bonneville, Hart County down to the Tennessee state line. To me, that looks like 40 to 50 mile an hour winds. Even though they got a warning out, I think that's a flash flood threat because the flow is going parallel to that boundary. So when it's going parallel to that boundary, that means it's going to rain, not just moving to the east. It's going to rain and rain and rain because it takes a lot further to go east than it does to go northeast. So anyway, right in there is very, very heavy rain. And I think this is a really heavy rain event. We said we'd have a few warnings. We got a few warnings. We got the lightning. We got the heavy rain. And in 8 minutes, the tornado watch will die.
Yes, yes. I just want to put this number back on the screen because I'm getting some great rainbow pictures that I want to show later on the 11 o'clock newscast. So thank you so far for those of you all who have sent in these rainbow photos.
That's awesome.
Once again, the number is 502-582-7290. And save this number in your phone because you can send me these photos at any point. And we'll use them on air, give you a shout out, include where you took the photo. And if you'd like to include your name, that's great, so I can say who took the photo. But thank you all for the rainbow photos so far. Hopefully, most of you all didn't get too much damage from these storms. Obviously, we have gotten some damage reports in this evening, primarily tree damage. So I'm gonna pull up those LSRs here, and let's see what we have. So we can kind of get a look at, my radar takes a minute to load, okay. I'm working it a little too hard. Okay, so does look like, I think most of these are tree damage reports. So tree down, Garrow Avenue, South Acres Drive. That was in Okolona this evening.
These are the newer ones.
These are newer ones near Mount Washington. Power phone lines down along Rivercliff Drive in Mount Washington. Let's see. power phone lines down between Lawson Lane and Stringer Lane, if I'm saying that correctly. That's also in Mount Washington. So a lot of these were tree damage reports, the arcing and sparking in Fern Creek that we were talking about earlier, trees down Holsclaw Hill, and then also large tree between Ray Hill Road and Tom Wallace Road. That was in Fairdale. So a lot of tree damage reports, some power outages as well with the strong winds that's rolled through here. Frankfort, let's see what this report is.
That's that wind gust. I bet money that's the set ops. Yeah,
yep.
The 59.
59 mile per hour wind gust.
Yeah. We had those up there earlier.
Yes, this is Madison.
What did Carrollton get?
Carrollton. Oh, large tree fell onto a roof of a house.
We mentioned Carroll County repeatedly.
That's where we had that severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, that was a good warning. That's all the hail you had up north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did have some hail with the earlier storms.
Yeah. So folks, for overnight, as we're wrapping this up for right now, you're going to have a lightning and thunder problem for basically the overnight. You got the main line pushing through. That's the most prolific one that basically goes from east of Cincinnati to, let's see, what's another good point? To
Bowling Green.
Bowling Green, thank you. Bowling Green, Nashville maybe?
Yeah.
So, but then you look behind there. Look on Mallory's screen here. Look at all this stuff out to the west. You've got several little scattered areas. They're going to, the computer models have been really consistent of having storms overnight.
Yes.
Scattered storms, let's say. So that's number one. Number two, there's a lot of water vapor in the atmosphere. So locally heavy rain is still on the table.
Yes.
And there's still a bit of a wind threat, but that's waning in my opinion. You know, they got that watch up. I think it's really a lightning and heavy rain event and some isolated wind here and there. I think that's your threat. The tornado threat's over. The hail threat is over. And if you watch her forecast, you'll see that it gets into the 90s for a long time. Starting Saturday?
Yeah, so we're going to stop complaining about the rain and we're going to start complaining about the heat because we're really just flipping from one extreme to another. So, no, we can't just have nice weather.
No, we're not in San Diego.
No.
If you're in San Diego,
San Diego has wonderful weather.
Time, you know. But anyway, by the middle of tomorrow, our rain threat is over, isn't it?
Yeah. So it does look like we could still have some things pop up. Obviously, we're going to have some lingering activity in the early morning just from these overnight waves. And then as that front just tries to clear the area, a few things might pop on the backside. We're not looking at a severe weather threat with that. We dry out, we clear out. Thursday afternoon, evening, dew points start to drop, lows in the 60s, which will feel nice.
Enjoy that
Friday
tomorrow night.
morning, I'm going to take a nice walk outside. I'm already planning. I got to enjoy this because then we have the heat with highs in the 90s into next week. Overnight lows, you'll also see those are ticking up. That's because our humidity starts to increase again as well. So your heat indices will be climbing into the mid or the upper 90s, even some triple-digit heat index readings expected.
Might be a good weekend to be at the pool.
Yes.
So if you
I've had one of our producers, he's like, I just want good pool weather. Well, this is for you, Matt. We got some good pool weather.
The pool is waiting for you, Matt.
Yes, you're going to want to find a way to stay cool out there this weekend.
Yeah.
All right, good news, guys. They went ahead and dropped the tornado watch. So now we do have that severe thunderstorm watch. That's what you're seeing in the yellow here. This will take us until midnight tonight. So that is just because we're still tracking this line of storms here. Some wind, primarily heavy rain and lightning as well. So we still do want you to stay safe if you're going to be out and about this evening. Still have ways to get alerts on your phone because, hey, if it's a severe thunderstorm warning, we want you to head inside. We can have some gusty winds with those, but heavy rainfall is really what we're watching here.
Yeah. I mean, my last word is there's a lot of storms with a lot of heavy rain. I think heavy rain lightning and a bit of wind is your problem tonight. So hope we helped you out in the last few hours.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on this live stream. I'll still be posting some updates on my Facebook page, meteorologist Mallory Schnell, throughout the evening, and then I'll be back on. You go home. I'll be back on tonight at 11 to talk about what's left of the rain, because we're still going to be tracking some activity, though not severe, this evening, late this evening, and into tonight. So, Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell here with meteorologist John Gordon. Thanks for tuning in to our live stream this evening. Heavy rainfall, some lightning continues, but our severe weather threat should continue to decrease here over the next couple of hours. So I'll catch you again at 11, and have a great rest of your evening.